this is an old No. 4 Bailey hand plane. It's really old and it's really rusty. So in this video, we're gonna give this some much needed love and restore it to its former glory. Luckily, all the parts seem to be here, so we're gonna start by disassembling everything, getting everything nice and clean, and then we'll take it from there. Thanks for tuning into this episode. Let's get started. Alright, that was finally the whole thing taken apart. I had a little bit of trouble getting the last screw out of this guy, but that's all taken care of now. Most of the parts are looking really good. I've had them submerged in 35% vinegar for a little while, and it always amazes me how effective vinegar is at removing rust. It's super cool to see how easily it comes off these parts. So while that guy soaks a little bit longer, I'll start on these guys, cleaning them up, getting everything nice and flat, polishing up these pieces to look really good. And by the time we finish with these, we'll tackle the main body of the plane. Okay, that was two of the main parts done. The frog is nice and clean, and this lever cap, I think it's called, is also nice and shiny. This guy, I decided to sand up to a 1200 grit finish. It gives it a really nice satin finish look. And since this part is going to be very visible, that is going to be looking really nice. So now that these two are done, it's time to check on the main body of the plane. And yeah, there's definitely something that's happening in here. It's been bubbling and brewing away for a couple more hours now. It's time to put on the mask and get this thing out of there. This vinegar really smells bad. And I don't think it's any good for your skin either. This is crazy. Just look at all the bubbles coming up to the surface of that thing. All right, all the parts are cleaned off. The nasty vinegar smell is gone. And man, I gotta tell you, I'm really happy with the condition this plane is in. That vinegar actually left a super nice and clean surface, and there's just a small amount of rust spots left that will clean right up with some Scotch-Brite. But one thing that is definitely not in a good condition anymore is the paint on this thing. It literally just peels off in places here. So the next step will be to get that old paint off of there, get everything nice and primed and ready for new paint. We're gonna repaint it in its original black color, and then obviously we'll have to regrind all of these surfaces and get them looking really nice and flat. Alright, so while I definitely got most of the paint off the base of that plane, however, this chemical stripping compound that I used to get the paint off of there, which is the same stuff I used on the machinist's vise, at first I did one coat, which got most of the paint off of there, but then I decided to do a second one and leave that on overnight. But when I came back this morning, the entire thing was rusted. So, into the vinegar it goes, and while that is bubbling, I'll tackle the wooden parts. So as you can see, I've gone through a lot of sandpaper. This is all 120 grit. This cast iron stuff is really tough to sand. So the combination of this thing being cast and all the rust that was on it means that it has too many surface imperfections for me to get it completely smooth. However, it is now actually very flat, which I can see holding a straight edge against the surface here. And using a square, I can see that the sides are 90 degrees to the bottom here. So I'm actually very happy with that. I'm not gonna get it completely smooth, but a couple of small surface imperfections just gives the thing a bit more character. So now I'm gonna go up through the grits, finish sanding this thing, mask up all the areas that are critical and can't get any paint on them, and then I'll paint it, and then we can assemble it. All right, that sure was enough sanding. Let's start painting. Last screw. Let's get this thing nice and shiny. All right, so we're almost finished. Most of the parts are done. I've also just cleaned up all the screws so they are nice and shiny. And to give them an extra layer of protection, we're gonna blacken them using some cold blue, which is this stuff here. And I've got that in a little cup here. So the idea is that we can take these shiny screws, dip them in this liquid, and then they'll get a black, hard, rust-preventing coating on the outside of them. All right, that was all the screws done. They all have the black protective coating on them. And since they were like shiny polish to begin with, they still have that shiny quality to them, only now they're black. After taking them out of the bluing liquid, I quickly rinsed them off in some water and then dipped them into some oil. And then once everything is dried off, they get this really nice, durable, shiny surface. But enough about these screws. We're actually just one part away from having everything done. And that part is the blade. I figured I'd save this for last because I also need to sharpen it. So I'm gonna clean it up, give it a nice sharpen, and then assemble the whole thing. It's gonna be exciting. And that's it. We are finished with our Bailey No. 4 hand plane. This is actually the first hand plane that I ever owned, and I am really happy it's this one. So after I assembled it, I spent a little bit of time setting it up. And as you can see, I've made a whole bunch of shavings with it. And it works. It works quite well. Looks-wise, it's definitely not perfect. You wouldn't mistake this for a brand new one. But I'm quite happy with the fact that you can see that it's an old plane. It's actually about 75 years old. And I actually really like the combination of colors this thing ended up having with the fresh new matte black paint job and the shiny bits and pieces together with the wooden parts that are perfectly smooth but still have these darker areas from the old finish that's soaked into the end grain. And I also think that the combination of these shiny brass bits together with that wood looks really nice. I also polished up this little brass knob in the back here, which normally is all brass, but on this model it has this plastic wheel, which is bakelite, I think that's how it's pronounced, because this is made during the war era, so they had to save on brass. So yeah, all in all, it's pretty sharp, it's pretty flat, it's square, it works, and I'm gonna be using this for a long time to come, hopefully. So I'm gonna go plane a little bit more wood just because I can, because it's fun with my new plane. I hope you liked this video. If you did, make sure to give it a thumbs up. It actually makes a huge difference if you do. And if you're not yet, make sure to subscribe and ring that bell so you get notified every time I upload something new. As for now, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.